This is Stu Strauss, the Woodsman, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Wowzers. Thank you so much, Stu Strauss, who played the Woodsman in Twin Peaks. Thank you so much for stopping by and saying hi. I just got to start off the episode. Thank you for listening to Inspirado Projecto, by the way. I got to start off the episode with this extraordinary synchronicity about, let's see. So my friend Lisa, who I interviewed for Inspirado Projecto, who I met on TikTok, at 2:09, by the way, today is 3/13/2022. Right now it's 2:34. So she sends to me at 2:09 p.m. It's called the Mystic Martian Oracle, 40 full color cards, 128-page book. She goes, "You need this Oracle deck." And I said, "You know, it's so interesting. About 15 minutes ago, I just named my episode, the episode that actually you are listening to right now, by the way. I just named my episode Oracle Orbs." I said, "This is a sign. I got to get that deck for sure. Oracle Orbs." Which is who you're going to be listening to after this fun fact by Henry D. Horse. By the way, Henry D. Horse is going to be contributing a wonderful fun fact. Lorelle and Salvador, I met on TikTok. Phenomenal spirits. They had each been posting their videos of orbs. And I thought, okay, these two have got to know each other. So I connected one of them in someone's comment section. And then I started seeing that, you know, they were communicating with each other. They're liking each other's videos. And then one day, I see on Lorelle's TikTok, I see Sal playing violin. Sal is an extraordinary violinist. And there he is, right there in her kitchen, her living room, playing violin. And there are orbs flying around. And I thought, wait, what is going on here? And I realized, oh my gosh, these two extraordinary spirits have met up. So that's what brings me to today, to today's episode. I wanted to interview them each about their experiences with orbs and what that was like to be in the midst of each other, in each other's company, and also see orbs at the same time. So that is what is coming up next. I cannot wait to share this with you. We also have a special mystery person call in. Nick Tears, by the way, from Mesmer and Braid, he stops by to say hi. I also have attached the Facepalm theme song by me, Kurt Eric Clendenin. And you'll hear a whole slew of synchronicities and extraordinary stories concerning orbs and all kinds of paranormal happenings. I am so excited to share this with you. And I'll just say, strap on your crash helmet, buckle up, put on your body suit, get ready for a rocket launch. This is a good one. Thank you for listening to Inspirado Projecto. And by the way, if you want to be included on a future episode of Inspirado Projecto, you too can call the hotline, call the voicemail, just like our mystery guest did. Call the hotline, 561-203-9179. That is 561-203-9179. I promise you, no one is going to pick it up. It's a voicemail, 561-203-9179. It also acts as a phone number for the threadless online store that I have, Wisefinger Lab. You can visit that, wisefingerlab.threadless.com. So, it's also for that. But I really use it as a way for you to send me your dreams, send me your strange, characters, send me your fringe theories, anything you've come across. All right, let's get into the episode. Thank you.
Here's your fun fact. Dogs are about as smart as a 2 or 3-year-old child. This means they can understand about 150 to 200 words, including signals and hand movements with the same meaning as words. Stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto for more fun facts.
Extraordinary.
Hey, hello.
Oh, I love it.
Hello.
I love it. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Yep.
Oh, very good. Very good. So Sal got an invite too, so he'll be popping on here in a second.
Nice. Nice. This sounds really clear. Love it.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, it's just it's so exciting to know that that this will record right there on the podcast. It's like this is one of the biggest reasons why I even started a podcast. For the longest time, my friends would say, "Oh, you should make a podcast," and I'm like, I don't really even know the first place to even look for making a podcast, And then one of my friends said, "Hey, try this Anchor app. It's like this brand new podcast thing that's coming out." And as soon as I looked at that, I'm like, okay, this is great because this is like I don't have to do a whole lot of crazy editing. I could just record this as an archive for my future self to listen to, and it'll just be sort of like my journal or my diary. And so then it just kept growing, just interviews with people on the streets or in an Uber or something like that. And then I got the idea. I was like, I'm meeting all these extraordinary people on TikTok who've got stories, that'll tell me stuff in the comment section, but they're not really talking too much about it in their own TikToks, or even those who are talking about it in their TikToks. And I go, okay, let's start interviewing these people. They're very dynamic. And so that's what led me to YouTube, because I saw your Orb videos, and you're the only two that I've ever seen with Orb videos. And it's interesting because during quarantine, I saw a documentary that's on Gaia all about the orbs. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Here are like these real life examples, these wonderful people I can talk to about this. So
yeah,
Lorelle, I think your videos were the first ones that I started seeing with the Orb videos. And it's cool because it's kind of cryptic. Like you'll put those up there and it's just, there's very little explanation as to what's going on. And then it takes the viewer a moment to realize what's going on. And then you go, oh my gosh, these are orbs that she has. This is like such a nonchalant video here, but these are orbs. I mean, this is like finding a lost city in the middle of a jungle somewhere. I mean, what was that like for you when you very first saw those orbs?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm here. Hold on.
Oh, we're getting feedback. Hold on.
Welcome to Inspirado Projecto Experimental Theater. Oh, goodness.
I think with Sal's, both of our phones in the same room.
Oh, wow. Maybe we'll open up another dimension.
That's great.
That frequency. I hope that whoever's listening to this right now can measure that frequency and figure out what message came through to us from the Star family. That would be wild, huh? Oh, my God.
So, you were asking me
Oh, my gosh. I can't hear her.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
She just disappeared. Is she still in the same room with you?
No, she's in a different room.
Oh, she's in a different room.
I want to bring her back.
Yeah, bring her back in. Let's see what happens.
Amy, we need you back because he lost you. And I'm going to take this out and put it on speaker.
All right, you want me to shut mine down?
Woo, there we go. Welcome to Interdimensional Theater.
I love it.
Here we go. All right, we're both on with you.
Okay. See, this is the charm of this podcast. It's the, what do they call it? Cinema verite. It's like whatever's happening right there. There you go. Sealed, baby, sealed in there. So the first time you ever saw the orbs, I mean, where were you? I need to know all the details. Where were you? What's the environment? Take us there.
So I was here on quarantine, working from home, and well, a lot of things had happened previous to this. So you'll probably see a dog in my TikToks, and it was very special. I've had a lot of dogs. I mean, used to have Rottweilers. I used to train the dogs, all this sort of thing. But this guy was a little bit different than any. I don't even feel right calling him an animal. He had passed away. So I was going through his quarantine. My best buddy, passed over. And I was seeing actually my mentor. She's like a psychic mentor. And I saw one of her videos where she's just sitting there in her living room and there's these orbs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? So in sitting down and talking to her, she was telling me, oh yeah, they're around everywhere. And she says, all you have to do is throw your phone on and make sure the flash is on and they'll be there. And they are more attracted to laughter than depression.
Whoa.
So if you're having a good time, if you're laughing a lot, and you're in a very jovial mood, they'll come around.
Whoa.
If it's you're probably not going to see them because they're repelled by the negative energy is what I understand.
Incredible.
So if you get yourself laughing, put your camera on. If you're watching a comedy on TV, what have you, throw your camera on.
Wow.
Turn your flash on, and you'll probably see them because they are so attracted to that. They love that energy.
Oh my gosh, you're giving me an idea right now because I met these folks at a parade a long time ago, and they were called Laughing Yoga. And these people, they were just laughing up a storm, just laughing. And I'm like, this is amazing. And I realized that they were a group of people who'd get together and they would just laugh till they almost wet their pants. Like they would just meet up. And it was this form of therapy where it would like their muscles were getting a workout. They were, because sometimes when you have those gut busters and you're like, oh my gosh, my stomach hurts from laughing. And you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've done 50 sit-ups right now. And it's that kind of thing where they just laugh and laugh. So now I'm thinking, as you're telling me, how cool that would be is if you had some people there and you do an experiment and you go, okay, all right, orbs, come on in. Here we go. Let's supercharge this. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, you're going to get a room full. I guarantee you're going to get just bombarded with orbs everywhere if you do that. Absolutely. But yeah, during this time period, I was trying to, I guess, make myself feel better. I just lost my best buddy and I'd taken the advice from my mentor, and I was watching some kind of crazy short video. I think it was off of Facebook that one of my friends had posted. It was just hilarious. And I started laughing. And in that moment, I was like, hey, wait a minute. Let me turn my camera on.
Wow. Oh, so cool.
And the first video I think that you see in my TikTok was that moment. That was the first orb that I had ever seen. And I was like, oh my God, she wasn't kidding. And then I just started constantly filming, and then being where I, in my home here in the past, listening to cabinet doors open and close, I was like, this is a great opportunity. So I'm going to start filming all the time. And
wow.
The thing, they're all over the place. They shoot around. They're like, hey, how you doing? I'm just woo, wee.
That is great.
And sometimes the house is just full of them.
Whoa.
And when that happens, I could give you an instance, and I remember this one, because I did film it, and it is there on TikTok. The whole house was just a bunch of bubbles, like it almost felt like you're underwater, because
Whoa.
air was so full of them. And it was like my mom's birthday or Thanksgiving, because sometimes they fall on the same day. Um, but yeah, I was feeling real anxious, and I wasn't upset about anything, but I was feeling really anxious. So then I turned the camera on, and lo and behold, the house is just full of them.
So real quick, as a side note, is your mom's birthday November 24th by any chance?
The 26th.
Oh my God, mine's the 24th. When you said it's either Thanksgiving or her birthday, that's been happening to me throughout all the years too. So I thought that was, I had to
Yeah.
take note of that synchronicity because it was just too, yeah, it was something I could not ignore. So, okay, so when you saw all those orbs floating by, when they came through and you said they looked like bubbles, were you laughing at the time? I wanna find out what these elements are to the equation that kind of jump starts them into your reality paradigm.
Oh, I was just like, oh my God, look at this. Look at this. And I was like, Mom, look at this. And she's looking through the phone,
My gosh.
looking at him, and she's like, oh my, wow. And I just kept filming and filming. It was just like oh my God, look at this. Like, I'm floored. Like, look at all these dudes and dudettes. I don't know.
Yeah, they're flying around. Imagine like a macro lens. I mean, that would be so crazy if someone were to do something like that and had a macro lens and you're able to like see the little faces in these things, or
Oh,
or little
yeah.
tiny beings and ships. I mean, what if those little orbs are like their own little starship? I mean, that could be
It's a
interesting in
possibility.
itself. They could be little ghosts. They could be little tiny extraterrestrials unto themselves. I mean, my gosh, how crazy is that? They could be eyeballs peering in from other dimensions.
Oh,
I
man.
mean, it's amazing to think that you've grown this relationship with them and that they feel this sense of, security around you. Now, what are your mom's thoughts about these kinds of things? I mean, are these a surprise to her? Are these things that she's seen in her life before? Because that's always interesting when someone, when you get a friend or family member who then can kind of share in that kind of experience with you.
Um, yeah, she was like, at first she was freaked out. She's like, I don't know about this. She's like, and then she's used to the fact, because I'm always floating around here watching them. And she's like, oh, did you get any orbs? Let me see, let
I
me see.
love it. Oh, that's great.
At first she was kind of freaked out by it, I gotta say. And then as time has passed, she's gotten used to the idea that they're here and they're always going to be here. And they're in our environment. Just 9 times out of 10, we don't see them with the naked eye.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but yeah, they're the precursors to them are either anxiety, or for me anyway, anxiety or that hot, super duper high pitch. And when I
Wow.
hit that high pitch and I turn the phone on, boom, there it is. There's one zipping,
And
you
just
know,
the swap and
and
the
and then when they hit the wall, you can hear them hit the wall. So
Really?
yeah, so have you ever gotten, for
What?
me, yeah, so have you ever gotten like a wasp in your house or a
Yeah.
bee, and you know how
Yeah.
they clink off the wall?
Yeah.
That's what they sound like.
Oh
And
my gosh.
the more juice they have behind them, that little clink,
That's
that little clink will
crazy.
turn into a thwop.
Oh my gosh. Wouldn't that be interesting? You put like one of those high powered microphones right up there next to the wall so you could catch the sounds of these little things. Oh
Oh,
my God. Imagine
when
if
I'm
you
on the
slowed them
phone
down and reversed them. Then they're saying stuff.
when I'm on the phone with Sal, I can hear them, and
What?
I'm like, there goes another one, and
Uh,
he hears them too. And over at his place, they go thwop, thwop. It's like something smacking, like if you threw a pancake at the wall. That's
oh
what it
my,
sounds like.
oh my
Throw a
gosh.
pancake up against the wall, and there's the sound of an orb going through the wall.
Oh, man, this is so exciting. The fact that this is just so commonplace for you. Now, Sal, I got to know, when was the first time that you saw the orbs?
oh my gosh. I didn't know what I was seeing actually the first time. And I was asking my host at the time when he was alive. He was actually um, a very conservative and retiring type, although his mindset was not conservative. He just was more of a recluse. And he would guest me from time to time at his house. And once I was videoing his artwork because he painted, he was a gifted artist. And this one painting that I was recording, I didn't realize it looked like a scene in the cosmos of multiple celestial objects, spherical. But at the time I didn't put them together as orb activity, but the painting is actually that. And while I was recording, I would see these things get in the way of the camera. And so I'm saying to him while I'm recording, I go, Steve, do you have insects in here? Are there bugs? And he's like, no. And this is broad daylight with the flash off. And I'm looking back and I'm like, and thinking at the moment, I go, are these? And he goes, yes, Sal, they are orbs. And I'm like, oh,
Whoa.
yeah.
Wow. So he was totally familiar with these things. And that was your very first encounter. And he must have been getting a chuckle out of the fact that you're over there and he's just waiting for you to say something about it. Like, yes, those are orbs. Oh my God. That is so funny. It's so funny. So, okay, when you first saw those orbs there, and that was at his place, right?
Yes.
So when was the first time? So that must have been astonishing then, the first time that you saw them within your own space, wherever you were at next. Where were you at next?
Well, that time was, it's funny, it's almost concurrent with what Lorelle was experiencing around 2020. And even though I had knowledge and had prior experience with like fairy entities and ET appearances or like craft, I didn't put together that they're interrelated. This phenomena, this interdimensional phenomena, this extraterrestrial phenomena, this extra dimensional phenomena. Uh, I kept them separate because I was still just having a hard time processing and compartmentalizing, because that's what we do as humans. And especially as being a Virgo, our motto, our quote is like, I analyze it, but I was having trouble putting it all in a box, because this is something that you'd have to be thinking out of the box for. And even with my so-called illumined, or open mind, I was still having issues because it was challenging my concepts and my perceptions of reality.
It's interesting, even though, and I want to dive down the rabbit holes on these things too, because you just casually mentioned them.
Wow.
Even though someone comes across, let's say paranormal activities or cryptid sightings or something, there always seems to be waiting just right around the corner, something that they have totally no explanation for, that they've never come across. And even they are still that skeptic, even though they may have come across many, many different other things in their lives. And I always find that aspect, fascinating to me. I always find that aspect very fascinating. Now, you said you have had ET activity in the past?
Yes, as far back as the 1990s.
Whoa, what was your first occurrence?
Well, from what I can recall, and it's so funny because as clear as is in my mind's eye, it causes me to reflect back even farther that perhaps what I was experiencing, like say as a child, was not some like story time fairy tale type of experience where it's just hard to comprehend or put in as like a real time 3D 4D experience, but it was perhaps extraterrestrial or extra dimensional or interdimensional or multiversal, or omniversal. Those words, even though I'm kind of like, I got a kind of a little bit of a handle on them, as far as our perceptions of space-time go. I'm not so sure if they're, and maybe they are, they're all interrelated. That, like we were talking about earlier, what in conversation about the Easter egg.
Ah,
Our higher
yes.
self, is our higher self calling to us from within or from afar? And is that time and space, even though it seems like the past, is that still related to what's going on right now? And how far go do we go back, or how forward do we go back, or how far within do we go? That rabbit hole, it's more like a wormhole that's traversing or going beyond the idea of geography and or actual space.
It is because, like with Dolores Cannon, with her interviews with Nostradamus through the QHHT sessions, one of the things he was talking about was that he was explaining to Dolores, saying, look, I'm not in the past. You're not in the future. We're both existing right now at the same time. And that was the first time that Dolores had ever come across this whole idea of parallel universes and the fact that past lives are actually current lives and future lives are actually current lives, that it all happens in the now. And it's such a crazy thing to wrap your brain around. But I guess if you kind of look at it as the layers of a sandwich, like, okay, here's the cheese layer, here's the, ham layer, and so et cetera and so forth. There's some lettuce. And it's all concurring at the same time. So that is kind of an interesting thing, like to think about, okay, your past self, your young Sal running around, and all of a sudden this version of Sal decides to play a little prank on him and put this floating hand, or what was the thing you said earlier? You said it was a face on a hand, or what did you say?
Yes, good, very great. You seem like you have total recall. I wanted to say way before anything I answered, I was so impressed with your TikToks, especially your impersonations of Elvis. Even though I'm like, I don't know anything about, and Jack Nicholson, I was like, is he related to this guy, or it's like, what's going on, dude? I mean, he's like putting on all these different, doing these impressions, and then he's like in this band called Yachtly Crew, and I'm like, what is this? A strange connection, weird ass connection. Pardon my French, because this is here. I digress, and please reel me in when I've gone way too far. But when I found out about Yachtly Crew, okay, I'm working with this singer songwriter on the West Coast, and I'm not going to mention any names, but his father-in-law is actually the singer for Motley Crue.
Oh my
And
God, I love it.
yeah, I'm like, I'm going to have to share this with him at some point in time, because the connections are like less than 6 degrees now.
I love it. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's astounding. Well, what's so funny is the guy who took our photos for some earlier shots, his name is Dustin Jack. He is friends with Nikki Sixx and the gang, and he was doing a lot of he does all their photos for stuff. And Dustin was actually there. He was showing us behind the scene footage with these guys laying down some tracks for the this was before the movie The Dirt came out.
Right.
And these guys were doing a few original songs. They also did a cover of Like a Virgin, but that was what they were recording at the time. So he was showing us this behind the scenes footage with Nikki and they're, doing what he's doing, and Tommy's doing what he's doing. And I just thought, wow, that's so crazy that here we are this close. And you know what's so funny is that Tommy Lee actually wore a Yachtly Crew t-shirt and on his Instagram, but it was spelled differently. It was not spelled like ours. It was spelled more like Motley, the Motley Crew. So it was just like YACHTLY and then CRUE, and it had like the umlauts. But I was just like, I can't believe it. It's like, does he realize that we exist, or is he just saying that? Or
I wonder.
But, you never know. You never know what's going on out there. Oh my God. But it's funny because, through TikToks, you get to learn people's personality, and then you get to really see what kind of world is going on in their brain. And so I appreciate the fact that you followed the breadcrumb trail and decided to see what other kind of strange things that maybe I was connected to. And I cannot wait for Yachtly Crew to play out near you guys so I could get you on the guest list and hang out with you and interview you again in person, because it's just all like I imagine Yachtly Crew shows as like a couple of things. One, like a traveling circus. Number two, it's like a traveling utopian society, because all the people who are there, they're there for the love songs. They're there to just chill out, hang out, party, have a good time, sing out loud with each other, and it's great. And the bars love us because all these people love to drink, but they're all good drunks. They're all good people. And then the bartenders go home rich because they got all these tips, So it's like, wow, it's just like, okay, everybody feel good, And so I can't wait to for us to play out near you
Oh,
two.
we'll be there. We'll be there. Here's a funny thing though, and this is not so much a breadcrumb, or is this? I'm gonna just lay it out there, straight out. I don't care about Men in Black or whatever, because they're welcome too. Um, when you guys were in Morro Bay, and I chimed in, I was like, yeah, that's where I grew up. I did grow up in Morro Bay, and when I saw your sax player and playing Careless Whispers,
Oh yeah.
it made me think about there's the hot sexy sax guy on YouTube, because a friend of mine turned me on to him because he would play anywhere, like in laundromats.
Yes. Yeah.
You know about him? Okay.
Yeah, he had like the long hair and the mustache
Yes,
and the glasses,
yes,
right?
yes, yes. And so I was like, this is just too much. So you're in Morro Bay. You got your sax player playing on the Embarcadero, and I'm like, okay, this is just too coinkadinkle.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. That is so incredible that you grew up there on Morro Bay. And there's another woman. There's a woman that I met on TikTok who always does like sunrises and sunsets, and it just puts awesome music behind it. And this woman, Holly Tucker, who that's her channel. She commented on Pauly Shore's, as we call him, playing his saxophone out there. She's like, I live in Morro Bay. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, that's crazy. So all those sunrises and all those sunsets were from Morro Bay, and I had no idea. And I'm like, oh my gosh, next time we're in town, I got to make sure that I got to get you into that show, because so it's amazing the way that these connections just keep, they just keep reaffirming themselves. And it's just, man, it's just so exciting. These little nuggets of life. Oh man.
I gotta ask. I mean, some of these some of these TikToks that you create, the actor impressions. I mean, are you an actor as well? You
Yes,
must be,
yes.
because of the Black Pumpkin.
Yes, Black Pumpkin and The Legend of Fall Creek. And I did a retro sci-fi called Max Neptune and the Menacing Squid. That was like inspired by Commando Cody and Flash Gordon. And that was so much fun to fly a rocket ship. But yeah, I do act. I've always loved different voices. I've always loved accents and dialects and just impersonating people. And when I saw that, there was this app that I came across called Impressions, and it had a bunch of these different faces. And I thought, oh my God, I could do impressions of these guys. Let me just glue their face onto my face and make it even more, more official. And I couldn't believe there's a Jack Nicholson in there. I couldn't believe there's a Christopher Walken. There was a John Travolta. Oh my God. I was so excited to find those.
Okay, so it checks out. I was just wondering how you managed to accomplish, because there's just a couple. The Jack one, I was like, man, that's insane.
Yeah, you're like, what? How did he morph his face to look like that?
But then I wouldn't put it past your ability, because
oh my God,
the Elvis one is like,
Oh, that one was
spot
great.
on.
oh my God, oh my God.
Great.
Yeah.
I love Elvis.
Well, thank you for that. I love that. It's so funny because you find yourself creating things, and you don't really know sometimes how the aftershocks are. How it reverberates out there into the world. So I'm just excited. I'm excited to hear you talk about those, so that now it inspires me to make some more of those.
Well, I kind of feel like you're in your own way. I mean, I resonate with it, because the channeling of people who might have gone on, if he is at all gone. He's never gone, I guess, because he lives in our hearts. Elvis or whoever. I mean, then you're like, you're posting or reposting stuff from Dolores Cannon, who I only knew about from like the late '90s, and then Bashar, aka Daryl Anka.
Yes.
All that stuff is so relevant right now, and we share. Lorelle and I will share stuff back and forth via TikTok, or we'll just talk about it, and then the next thing you know, it's either we're taking the words out of each other's minds,
Oh,
or
wow.
there'll be just these synchronicities ad infinitum that are confirming, what you've been just mentioning, how there's this connection that has always been.
Yeah, and like here we are awakening to this idea that here we all have, if we play with that idea that the three of us have made that soul contract, going, we're going to find each other, we're going to find each other, we're going to go down there, we're going to play these earthling characters, and we're going to find each other. And the way we're going to do it is, you'll be very surprised, but you'll know it when you see it. And I just feel like that's kind of what's happening right now, where it's like we're awakening to this fact of like, okay, we found another one. And that ease of language that you can have with people, where you're talking about synchronicities and stuff like that, and they're not going, Cinco, what are you talking about? But it's a very natural language for them. It's a very natural, where they just get as excited about the synchronicities as you do, and then you can kind of go through them together as like detectives and go, ooh, okay, what was I thinking about, or what song was I listening to, or something, when this synchronicity happened, and then you can find those little pinpoints and what was going on at that time and what those symbolize, and then how that symbolizes with the other person's synchronicities. And then you're just like, whoa, look at all of these little morsels that we have left for each other. Our future selves have gone bloop, 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 bloop.
I was talking with Sal the other day about spirit and fractals.
Oh.
So it was kind of like a download that I had. We were on the phone with one another, and I don't really recall a lot of it because it was more oracular, I guess.
And it was very like three-ish in the
It
morning.
was 3-ish in the morning. So if I let myself get really super like exhausted, let's say, and I stay up, it's like I go into this mode of
Hypnagogia.
Yeah, hypnagogia. But I was telling him about soul and source, and we're all the same. We're all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're all just small pieces of source, right? So
Right.
this download stated that we exchange fractals.
Ooh, I love that.
So you can see the fractals in like some of the orb shots that I do have up there on TikTok. If you look closely, you'll see fractals, what they call fractals, and
Oh, I love it.
little oddball shapes, right? So a spirit was saying to me that when we come into this physical form, we carry fractals of other uh, souls. So you're not just you're like a multiplex of other souls, more so than not. So you're sharing these fractals, which is basically like bits of information.
Aha.
And I was telling Sal about this, and like I said, I don't recall everything that I said, but that's like the nuance of it, I guess, the of the whole thing.
I love that. And I believe that's what Bashar talks about, is the oversoul. He was talking about how he says that whales, he's like, if we were to look at as a symbolic representation of how the oversoul is, he says the whales are a symbolic representation of the oversoul, and then the dolphins are those aspects of the oversoul. And so this kind of reminds me of what you're saying, is that there's sort of like, we're all part of, kind of like, I'm getting images of like Voltron or Power Rangers or something. It's like, okay, this person is this arm of the robot, that person is this leg of the robot. They all come together and they create the same robot.
It's kind of like what Tumultuous. You follow Tumultuous?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's kind of like what he used to say. All right, fellow tentacles.
That's right.
You visualize tentacles, I always picture like this big giant, like, just to break it down simplistically, like a one giant circle. If you're drawing a diagram on a piece of paper, and then you got literally all these little tentacles, these little strings, and then a little orb on the end of that, and a little orb on the end of this, and so it looks like a million-legged octopus or something like that. That's that's the idea, is we're just all small pieces of source, and we have exchanged information over millennia of being whatever what we were. If we were off planet, if we were a stone, if we were a tree, if we were a leaf, if we were an insect. So we've got these small fragments of these other things too that we share. And I think that kind of delves into your deja vu, because all that becomes part of your DNA.
Gosh, that stuff, it fascinates me so much when you think about that, like how with Dolores Cannon, when she takes people through their QHHT and they find out, oh, why do I always have these migraines all the time? And then she takes them back to a past life where maybe they're bludgeoned to death, in some medieval farm or something.
Oh, here we go. Here we
And
go.
all of a sudden, then it's like, oh, okay, well, now you can leave this person alone. Okay, go ahead, and now you don't have to give migraines anymore. And then the person, they wake up out of it. No more migraines. What were we going to say about that?
Oh, so in speaking with a fellow psychic, found out I lived in Germania back in the day when the Romans invaded, right? And I have ongoing, not so much anymore, this pain that's in my left shoulder, and my left shoulder gets locked up.
Oh.
I have it, I go to a chiropractor, resolve it, it comes back. If I get really stressed out, it comes on. And it's hard to move that arm. It's like a pain between my neck, and the muscles are all cinched up, knotted up into a wad, right?
What
And
the heck?
come to find out, I was killed by a Roman soldier.
Oh my gosh.
And he came down with a blow on the left shoulder between the neck and the arm.
Oh boy.
And practically took my arm off. But that's how I died.
Boy.
That is how I died. And so my soul took that information. It's always, coming into this lifetime, it's a remembrance that's, like I said, it's a fractal of that lifetime, being that Germanic soldier and perishing the way that I did. After having that resolution of that's what happened, that's when that pain subsided more or less. And I don't feel it anymore because now I know what happened.
Oh my gosh.
And I also left a wife and some small children behind when that happened.
Holy cow. That's incredible.
Yep. So a Roman soldier brought me to my demise. All those many hundreds of years ago. Thousands.
Incredible. See, this is stuff that, we ought to pay attention to. I just think that, holy cow, if you had a whole, let's say a council of these kinds of, wise-minded people, whether it be shaman, whether it be, those who channel, whether people who help out with past life regressions, and you get to the bottom and you get to the roots of these things, you find the commonalities between these. You throw in some, a bunch of clairvoyance, and you get people to whittle down those golden nuggets of okay, this is what's good for our town, for instance. And, through these various extraterrestrials that have talked to this person, and the ancient Indian chief that this person channeled, and the whatever the ghost that this person talked to on peyote or whatever, based on those spirit guides, we are going to move forward with this thing. And and I think, boy, that would be pretty cool, because it would come from a place of authenticity, a place of all for one and one for all. At least that's what I'm thinking.
As I'm talking to you, I just watched an orb just go whoop.
I love it. Oh my God, I love it. It's like the orbs are hanging out. They're like, hey, what else do they talk about? What else is going on? So what was the earliest, how old were you when you first started noticing any sort of paranormal activity?
Oh wow, I was 5, 6 years old. What's that?
How about your memory of coming into this?
Oh God. Okay.
What?
Yeah,
you have memory of being born?
I remember, no, before that,
Whoa!
so I would, when there's a certain smell in the air, there's a certain smell, and I guess it's like the smell of ozone, but it's when the air has got this sweetness to it. It's like
Ooh.
crisp.
Yes.
And so probably 20 years ago, I started noticing this. It's like I just had this memory of, I was born out in San Bernardino, California. So and I just have a recollection of coming down over the city. It was still dark out. And I'm coming in, like right in. It's nighttime. I see the city lights. I smell the smell in the air and I feel the wind. All right. That was the moment, either the day I was born or a few days before.
Incredible.
But I just, that when the wind blows just right and that smells in the air, I had this memory that didn't have a basis for so long. And then
Wow.
I know what it is now. I have this total knowing of what that was. And I mean, I'm just coming in like a comet. And then I remember just kind of like stopping and it was, see, I was born in January, San Bernardino environment. And Sal tells me about the Santa Ana winds at that time, I think are happening. I don't know, but I just remember feeling the wind, smelling the wind, and it has to be a certain temperature, certain wind tone out, so to speak. The smell, all that has to be right, and it activates that memory of coming in. I mean, I'm coming in hot.
Wow, that's
And
incredible. So like the
and
smell of like after it rains, that kind of smell?
no, it's not after it rains. It's like when the sun's out and the sky is like blue and it's
Oh my
clear, it's
gosh.
crystal clear, and the air is crisp, and you smell that smell of ozone. If you know what ozone smells
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like, it's that. And I just remember for a few moments in this memory of just stopping and looking at the city and at the ocean, and then boom, and then I remember no more, but I remember coming in, just just and that was right before I was born, within days or hours. I don't know what the time was, but I could tell you that's what that is.
That's incredible.
So that'd be
Wow.
my first memory, um, is before birth, that split second. Maybe it was hours, who knows, the way time is and is not. Um, and then being like maybe 5 or 6 and seeing an apparition in my room, and it was just this bright glowing light. And my grandmother, my dad would go away, he was in the Navy, and he'd have to go to Spain a lot for, when he was finally in the reserves, and he'd go for 2 weeks of active duty, he'd usually go to Spain. So he was gone to Spain, and so my grandmother would sleep in our room with us while he was away, and we were both up, and it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It was super late. And all of a sudden this glow started in the corner of the room, and it got oblong, and it was my Aunt Alice that had passed away at a very young age. She was only 27. She had juvenile diabetes, and back in the day, they really didn't have the care that they have now for diabetes of that nature, which is type 1. But she was like a saint. She was the sweetest person, and I never got to know her. But my grandmother was like, that's my sister." It was her younger sister.
Wow.
But we saw her in this long. It was like she was surrounded. It was just the brightest light. At first, I thought it was a car, and my grandmother thought it was a car pulling in the driveway, and the light was shining through the windows. And here's my grandmother at the time, and she's looking out the window, and there's no cars, there's no headlights,
Whoa.
and we're just sitting there, and my sister was asleep next to me in our bed,
Oh my gosh.
and me and my grandma are just up, and she's like, "Do you see this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I see this, Nina.
Whoa.
I see it." And
Whoa.
then it just kind of vanished. It faded out, but it was oblong. It was bright light, and it was her face in there, and in
Wow.
her whole being, just saying hi, because that room that we were in was her room while she was still alive, and my grandmother was taking care of her.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was the first instance I remember seeing otherworldly phenomena. Um, was about 5-ish, 6-ish, something like that.
I'm getting images of Glenda the Good Witch inside the bubble in Wizard of Oz. You know,
Yeah,
she's like, and she just
yeah,
like, you know, gracefully floats down in the bubble. I'm kind of imagining
yeah,
that kind of like your aunt, like that, like this, just this huge
yeah.
bright light, and she's just in this little globe. Wow, that's so interesting. Now, so Sal, how old were you? So okay, so when you started seeing these, I just love hearing these parallels between you two as you're growing up and the different things that are going on in your lives, you know, paranormal wise. Um, it's just intriguing to me to find these similarities and stuff, these connections. Sal, when you were growing up, what in addition to well, first of all, I got to know, how many times did you see the face on the hand?
Oh, that was when I was like 4 or 5 years old, maybe 4. And that was one evening. I used to like crawl out of bed when my dad would come home from work and he'd turn on the television. I would crawl out of bed and crawl on the carpet and sneak into the front room and hide behind the couch and watch TV while he was watching TV.
I love it.
And then sometimes that I would be spotted or noticed,
Oh my God.
and then they'd pick me up and put me back in bed.
I love it. I love it. You're hiding back there behind the couch. Oh my God.
This one time that it happened, and this being or entity, I don't know what it was, the way my mind processed it was a hand with the face. It was a white hand with the face on it, and it was tapping me on the shoulder.
Whoa.
And I'd look behind me and see this hand, and then
Oh.
I'd pretend to ignore it, but I was kind of a little bit disturbed by the experience, and then I'd feel this tapping on my shoulder again. I'd look back and see this hand. So it was several times
Oh my
during that
gosh.
night, and the rest I can't remember. It might have been a screen memory. It could have been an abduction experience. I don't know. It was real, because I, to this day, it's clear in my mind's eye that something happened, and it was more than just a dream state, because I was actively crawling on the floor while I was in the midst of going to watch television with my dad.
Oh my gosh. And the hand. So what do you remember the face? What's the closest thing that you could say that the face looked like?
The Remember in Whitley Strieber's movie or the book Communion?
Yes.
There was a sequence where he was seeing a Jack in the Box coming towards him.
Oh my God.
And
I gotta watch it again.
yeah, the face is kind of reminiscent of that experience. It was so
Whoa.
real. It was like a play toy kind of like face, like something you'd see on Mr. Potato Head, but even more vivid, more lifelike.
Oh.
But still has this kind of like surreal, Dali-esque kind of, it wasn't a painting, but the way the imagery kind of distorts the face being in the hand, in the palm region, with the eyes and the nose and the mouth, but the hand was white. So it's all kind of getting mixed up as
I
far
mean,
as the
this is
way.
interesting. So was it like floating there? Did it look like it was attached to something? Did it?
Yes, a very floating, like. And there's another scene
Whoa.
or passage in the movie Communion where he's seeing the face. He, at the very end, he's holding up his hand, or he's seeing, oh yes, he's cradling it with his hands in this last scene. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Oh my
He's
God,
cradling this image in his hand of the insectoid faced alien face, and I'm like, I recall this. I totally resonate with this scene. There were so many triggers in that movie.
Whoa.
The strange thing about that, when I was a younger lad in my late 20s, I used to be a garbage man, and I found this book in the garbage, and it was called War Day, and it was written by a man named Whitley Strieber. And I read the book with great interest because it was about the day after, like when there actually was a nuclear war in the United States. And I don't want to trigger anybody because of what's going on right now in Ukraine, but there was this war. I read the book. I didn't put it two and two together at all because it wasn't until later one of my coworkers came up and said to me, Sal, I understand you're into like ETs. And I'm like, how did you know? And he goes, well, how did you know that I knew? And I'm like, I don't know anything, Greg. His name is Greg. And he's like, look at the goosebumps on my arms. I'm like, okay. And then for some strange reason, I went to the video store and rented Communion. And then I put two and two together. I'm like, wait, this guy Whitley.
Wow.
I just read his books. And now I'm looking at his movie. And then I read the book Communion. And I'm like, okay, this guy. And then he also did the Hunger, which I have not read, but I think David Bowie starred in that one.
Wow. What a cool chain of events, the way that it led you down this rabbit hole here.
Oh, it gets weirder. But that that was in the 90s, and that was like I had a couple of sightings or experiences with
like
something
what?
that was probably extraterrestrial. I don't know. I just saw what I saw.
What
I
were
was
those
very
things?
much into magnets. Lorelle was mentioning earlier about how the fractals and the DNA and this like law of attraction occurs. And I'm like, at the time in the 90s, consumed, obsessed with magnets and free energy machines and so forth and so on. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. There is something to this world because it's dualistic in nature. There's a positive or negative. There's a push and there's a pull, and they're all the same force. It's just what your perspective, how you're looking at it, from what side of the world you are. The toilet flushes the way it's going to flush, right?
Uh-huh.
So anyway, not to make a long story longer, but I am that whole experience is like it's moving towards, like, here we are talking amongst ourselves via TikTok, which now I'm finally reconciled. What's this whole bugaboo about? And I hope I didn't say anything politically incorrect, but this whole buzz about AI being this nasty, evil thing, I'm fighting it to be kind of like more of an ally, because how, like Bashar says, it's how we're going to make that experience that really determines the reality of that experience.
Well, what's interesting too is I remember in another Bashar conversation, he was talking about, people were asking about AI, and he said something to the effect of, when AI becomes conscious of itself, the moment that happens is basically equivalent to our higher mind. How should I put it? It's the equivalent of the higher mind waking up within us, so to speak. It's like it goes hand in hand with that. And so he was saying it was kind of like an ascension kind of process. Now, it's crazy because with stuff like, we've always heard about hackers and stuff like that. It's like, that's what's so strange to me is, I know all kinds of, like, I saw a video where a guy had like a microchip in his neck or head or something. He was able to just open up his office door. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, I'll just turn on the computer. Oh, I'll just turn on the lamp. And I'm going, okay, well, that's neat. However, if I was a mischievous hacker dude, if I was a mischievous hacker dude, I'd probably find out a way to try to control, like, how can I control that person like a puppet? If I had evil intentions, like, oh, how can I move that person around, make them break dance on the, in front of their office colleagues?
That
Suddenly,
reminds me of that one section in THX 1138
right,
where
right.
they try to go to his head and they keep changing things, and then the two guys are like, "Don't let it get above 6.7," and the guys, Robert Duvall's like, he's like watching his hand flail away, and
There it is. George Lucas was a prophet. He knew what would happen. Oh my gosh.
oh gosh, I've had two dreams of George Lucas driving, careening down a wood boardwalk in Northern California, and then another
Whoa.
time, I was like soul traveling, or I like to call it flying, and I ended up in this place in Wyoming. I thought I was trying to get myself out of this canyon. I kept on coming up these sheer craggy mountain cliffs, and then finally I ended up in this one region, and then there's this like facility in the middle of nowhere, and then I see it's George Lucas and their friends, and they realized they saw me eavesdropping, or
Oh,
actually peering in, like remote viewing.
whoa.
It's like that, and they were kind of like knew that I was there, and I'm like, this is just a dream, right? Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. But the George Lucas. Oh, here's the other funny little quinkadink. A friend of mine who writes music for television and film. One of the shows that he did work for and received an award for, actually, for doing the music, was Cartoon Network's The Regular Show, and one of the lead characters is an immortal yeti named Skips, and he's played by one Mark Hamill,
Oh, cool.
because Mark does lots of voiceover stuff. So there's my George Lucas connection in like 32 degrees of separation. Sorry to be so long-winded, but I think you gave us a platform, and we so appreciate you inviting us on.
Well, I think it's awesome. You talk about George Lucas careening down the. Wait, you say you saw him careening down the highway
He was driving
car?
this like sprinter van, and we were in the back, and we were wondering what is going on. Why is he driving so crazily?
Well, it's funny
Yeah.
you're saying that, because there's a story with David Lynch, who George Lucas picked him up in a car, because George Lucas wanted David Lynch to direct. You probably know this, but he wanted David Lynch to direct Return of the Jedi. Can you imagine how crazy that would be? Like, oh my God! But people were begging him to do Dune at the time, so he chose Dune over Return of the Jedi. But while George Lucas is trying to butter him up for this whole thing, he's talking to Dave Lynch about the Ewoks and the and all these different creatures and the speeder bikes and all this, and the same thing. It's like George Lucas was speeding around through the mountains with David Lynch. So it's funny that you happen to have that dream of him speeding along in his car. So apparently there's something to that.
Right? That was a real account. What you just told.
Yeah, that was the real account. That was the real account.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So George Lucas, he's like, David Lynch was like, George picked me up in his little car and we were driving through the mountains. He drives very fast. And he's telling me about these little Ewoks. And I say, George, I don't think I'm the man for the job. I mean, Ewoks and things on different planets. I don't know, George. And George is going, no, I think you're perfect for the role, David. And he's speeding around the corners. And I always get anxious in speeding cars. Oh my God. It was so funny to hear him talking about that. So it's funny to hear you talking about seeing fast George Lucas driving fast.
I see that this kind of checks out, but then I'm like, why am I? Well, here's the thing about George Lucas. This is very interesting. In Preston Nichols' book, The Music of Time. Now, Preston Nichols is an accredited electronics engineer, and also is in the book, as he says, he's responsible for a lot of the technology that exists in multi-track recording studios today, because he started out as a kid with an affinity and a talent for electronics.
Oh.
And later on, yes, a guy, I forget his real name, but he went by the name of Chubby Checker, put him to work to build a recording console. And in the end, well, not in the end, actually, in the course of his career, he started the label Buddha Records, because he got the nickname little Buddha because he was kind of paunchy. So Preston went on and on, and then later he became a member and a director of the United States Psychotronic Association. And this connects to, drum roll please, the the Philadelphia experiment. Yeah,
that was the symbol.
very good.
You said it very triumphantly.
Yes.
The Philadelphia experiment. Good old Philadelphia experiment. Oh my God, I love that.
So yeah, so he and Al Bielek teams up because and Duncan Cameron, they have their connections, right? Well, it goes on in his musical career that he teamed up or was aware and worked with, again, Mr. Mark Hamill.
Whoa.
Yes.
Interesting.
And yes, the connection goes on where he went to work for George Lucas and he's responsible for creating the THX circuitry that is known throughout the world as THX sound.
Whoa.
Right. So, and I guess in the book he mentions how Mr. Lucas, hired him and fired him several times because he was quite persnickety about things when it came to whatever he wanted in the process, in the production of the Star Wars films. And so this connection between Mr. Hamill, Mr. Lucas, Star Wars series, and now through you, I didn't even know there was a connection between he and David Lynch, because I just recently, and you noticed this because I noticed through you that you were an avid Lynch Twin Peaks fan, right?
Oh yes.
So I'm like watching Twin Peaks last year for the very first time.
Oh, cool.
I didn't know anything. I saw Eraserhead like 1979.
Love that movie.
I did not know anything about Jack Nance, just dying recently. I didn't know, and I recognized him in all the subsequent movies, right? So I have this predilection for David Lynch production, his sensibilities. And by the way, your impression of David Lynch was so spot on.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were definitely channeling. So anyway, there it is again, in a huge nutshell. This interesting connection that you bring up.
Dude, so what are your thoughts of the series? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I didn't realize I didn't realize first, even though I intuitively, maybe perhaps subconsciously, I was vibing on Mr. Lynch's his sensibilities as far as accessing the quantum. And then later on I found out that he started a transcendental meditation center in Berlin because he was very much into that, which somehow translates over into his artistry, his work.
Yeah.
I mean, from Mulholland Drive, time travel in Inland Empire. I mean, it's implied, but it isn't blatantly, grossly depicted like a lot of, and I'm not criticizing, a lot of other productions that overtly just imply that there is time travel. Lynch does it in a very subtle and artistic way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That doesn't kind of like throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, when it comes to communicating the sense that there is such a thing as traversing backward, forward, and sideways in time.
Well, it's cool too because throughout the whole time, he never once tries to describe any of his projects or anything. He just honestly, he puts so much thought into this, and I love how people call him the what is it, a surreal Mr. Rogers, like Mr. Rogers of surreality or something.
Yes.
The way that he's like never, there's that phrase showing without telling. So he's letting the audience figure out what's going on. He puts so much thought into what he's doing there, and he goes, okay, audience, it's up to you. You figure it out. And I love it because it makes so much sense because people like him, Andy Kaufman, another one of my huge influences, and these guys, transcendental meditation, they go up into that land of the unknown. They're connecting with all that is. And then it's like, whoa. And then the art that they're creating, no wonder why it flies over everybody's head, because these people just came down from, the higher mind, from the fifth dimension, with all of this, the smoothie of all this cosmic wisdom. And here they go, and they blend it all up and they serve it in whatever their art form is. And people are going, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what to do with this information. I've never been introduced to this before. It's crazy.
I like that. Like I like the allusion to smoothie, the Vitamix of
Oh
not the
yeah.
Vitamix,
Oh
but
yeah.
definitely it's stirring up a lot of things.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. And people are like, I don't understand what is the point of what this person just did or whatever. It's like, okay, it's a mood. It's a thing that's happening. The whole point of the whole thing is to actually see whether you can test your patience enough to just live in that unfolding of that process. Let's just see if you can handle that without, trying to compare it to other things that are out there in the world. This thing is its own world unto itself, and now what are you going to do about it? It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's so fun. He just like David Lynch is so unapologetic in what he's doing. It's so great. He's like, I'm not waiting for anybody to catch up with me. These are the visions I have, and you may take 25 years to unravel what I came across, that long ago, or you may not. But those Easter eggs are there for you to figure out. And I wonder how much stuff he really weaves in there that is even deeper than anybody has
Well,
explored yet.
in answer to your question, how did I find Twin Peaks? Because
Yeah.
I was it's not that I was like turned off or put off. I just decided not to watch Twin Peaks or Wild at Heart or anything after Mulholland Drive,
Oh, right.
because I was just like, okay, I've reached my peak, I guess,
Yeah.
experience. But then I saw Inland Empire, and then last year with Twin Peaks, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking about this geographic area that reminds me. Actually, the trigger was ended up being, this reminds me of Mount Shasta. This reminds me of these
Ooh.
spots that I had been to recently, and the Double R Diner.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at it. I go, that's the High Low Cafe in Weed. The, the,
Whoa.
the Twin Peaks to me were Mount Shasta and Shastina. And I'm like,
Ooh.
because he's talking about time travel in these episodes. I'm like, and he's talking about the extraterrestrial phenomenon. He's got this guy that's like in the Air Force that's got this knowledge. And I'm like, whoa, I thought this was going to be just some like hokey run of the mill, like David Lynch goes mainstream. But little did I know, in my ignorance, I was just judging it before I even saw it. And now I'm like Jodie Foster in the middle of Contact going, I didn't know. I didn't know.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Oh my God. There's so many little Easter eggs, so many little nuggets in there that it's just, oh my gosh, it's so much fun just to, and then plus they released all these other books that it's like supplemental material. And then you start seeing references of that in Twin Peaks. You're going, oh my gosh, it's so cool. That was in this secret, like they released Laura Palmer's Secret Diaries. You could read that and see what went on in her brain. And then they have these Dale Cooper tapes, these personal tapes of his. So you can order these. I still have the cassette tape somewhere, and you can listen to those on YouTube. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. It's such a deep rabbit hole. And I love the fact that you saw the parallels between them, that Mount Shasta, because, which is interesting, because this is a great time to ask you about the sightings that you've had out there in Mount Shasta. I've seen on your TikToks the various UFOs that would fly past out there. I somehow believe that you've probably had a lot more than just the few that we saw on TikTok.
Well, it that's funny you ask, and I appreciate it, because last night I was presented a piece of evidence that I don't know if it should be linked up to, but it definitely has my head spinning and Lorelle's head. in a similar. I think she probably has a little bit more together than I when it comes to connecting the dots, because she presents to me this jacket that she had gotten for me because I needed it. She thought, and I'm really grateful that she got me the jacket. But when I came back to visit, she showed me this piece of, it's like a crystal that has inlaid in it metal, and I have no knowledge that there exists a technique of in metallurgy
This
or
is
in
great.
jewelry.
Yes, I saw that photo. Oh my gosh, that thing looks like a relic. That thing looks like something that is extraterrestrial, dare I say.
Yeah, may, because I have not the clue, but there exists in that piece that came out of the jacket pocket that I only wore maybe several times throughout the course of my visit and did nothing. But she shows me this, and I go, wait, that was in the jacket pocket? Don't you think I would have at least said, where did this come from? Or how is this, like, because it was so exquisite in its like design, and it looks so ancient. It had me thinking like, okay, this is a great cosmic joke because I didn't put it there. She didn't put it there.
What?
I didn't put it there.
Oh yeah, I was I was waiting for Sal to get here. So working the weird shift I do, I just decided I better stay up because he's arriving to Detroit Metro in the morning, Saturday morning. So I just stayed up from getting out of work at second shift, and I says, I'm gonna do laundry. Yeah, I'm gonna find all this stuff to do in the meantime, and I wanted to wash the jacket for him so it was fresh for him when he got off the plane. And it's cold, it's like it was 18 degrees.
Whoa.
Yeah, here in Michigan. So I'm doing the laundry, so I'm checking pockets, and the right pocket has got, receipts and paper and gum wrappers, and I pull all this stuff out, and I just set it on the desk, but this one piece, I was like, what the heck is this? He must have picked it up off the ground.
Whoa.
And I was like, and I asked him, I said, sweetie, what is this? And he's like, I've never seen it before in my life. And I'm like going, what?
Oh my
It
gosh.
came out of your jacket pocket. This came
Whoa.
out of your pocket, before I washed this jacket. And I thought he was going to say, oh, well, and I just found it on the ground. And no, it wasn't the case. He'd never seen it before in his life, and I never seen it before. So we're just scratching our heads over here going,
oh my
what
gosh.
is
Well,
this?
now I feel compelled. Can I use one of these photos as the photo for the cover photo for this podcast?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because I'm just getting that vibe right now that would be the perfect photo for the cover of this podcast episode, because it is so magical and mystical. And you know what would be so interesting? What's immediately popping in my brain is, what would be interesting is to come across is I'm sure between us, one of us knows someone who has that special superpower where they put their hands on some kind of thing and they go, and they all of a sudden they get those senses just flooding in of what that thing is and its history. And there's got to be someone. Sometimes people could just look at a photo and suddenly think about it. So maybe we'll get some of those. The people who see the photo of this thing, they'll go, whoa, all right, that's an Arcturian, gemstone from the crown of a, you're like, what the heck?
There you go. Right? Yeah. The thing looks like it's made of gold. It's gold. It's not tarnished. Gold set in some kind of stone.
It looks like something from like the Stargate, like that movie Stargate. It looks like one of those kinds of like things that they would have back then, like a key that will open a portal or something, or like a or like one of those things, like in Indiana Jones when he puts that specific that stone in the staff and then the light shines through. I mean, maybe that's what's happening. Is this is like an Easter egg to follow up on and go, all right, well, who knows? This might be leading you to some freaking hidden spaceship somewhere, that like this is the key that opens that spaceship, and then all of a sudden, surprise, your star family's inside. They're like, we've been waiting here for centuries. We knew you'd arrive.
Yeah,
we knew you'd find us.
They're going, God, what took you so long?
Yeah, what took you so long? Like, we're so happy you followed the secret of the stone, you know. It might be cool to get one of those macro lenses on that thing just to see the detail, like the really up close detail of that. Because that is very puzzling. That's very puzzling. I'd be just as uh, uh, like what astonished as you two are in finding that.
I like to put it in one of those, what do they call it, gas spectrometer or whatever that they use like on forensic files and all those shows.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow. And then
The composition.
and then maybe run it through like one of those X-ray thing. I don't know if this is the same thing you're talking about. I'm getting visions of like, remember when they found that piece under that huge space under a pyramid that was like the size of an airplane hangar or something? Remember when they found that? They had a special machine. It might be interesting. You see inside, there's like a living being. It's just waiting to hatch. It's just like, oh my God, there's something.
Yeah.
There's something curled up, like it's in meditation. It never died. It's still meditating. It's this thing from another dimension, and it's just waiting to hatch.
Oh, dude, when you did you send them a picture of the profile of it? It looks like something laying in its own mummification or like
you found a sarcophagus, my friends.
Yeah. We said the same word at the same exact time. We said the same sarcophagus word at the same exact time.
Oh my God, you did? We did? We said sarcophagus at the same
At
time.
the same exact
time. Oh my God, of course we did. Okay, that's it. That's it. This is it. This is one of those Easter eggs that our spiritual, our prankster spiritual selves left as an Easter egg for these versions of our earthling selves to marvel at. And I mean, that's it. That's got to be it. You've got yourself a living being inside there somewhere.
No doubt.
Well, it definitely, on handling it and looking at it very closely, it gives off something. I mean, whether I'm reading into it or not does not matter right now.
Right.
Because it is so, for the just, let alone all the beautifulness of its shape and its design and texture, how it got into our hands through that pocket still remains a complete mystery. I have no recollection of ever picking up anything, and neither does Lorelle. And so that mystery kind of relates to another story that, and I'll be really brief because I was a janitor at one time in the late 90s, and I went to McDonald's for lunch. And when I got my change back, I just put it in my pocket. I didn't think of it at all. And then when I reached in my pocket and I felt the change, there were 3 steel pennies from 1943. And being a fan of the experiment, right? Do you see?
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay, I'm thinking this is a good time now to write a movie called Pocket Portals. And it's about Sal Garza, who keeps finding portals in his pockets. And these various things keep emerging out of nowhere. He's like, what the hell is this?
Okay, all right. This takes Pocket Pool to a new...
Yeah, everyone thinks it's like Sal, he's always got his hands in his pockets. You're like, hold on, I got a good one down here. And you pull out like a handful of these golden coins from like Egypt or something. They're like, where did that come from, Sal? He's like, my pocket portal. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my
Yes, summertime.
Coming to a theater near you. Pocket portals.
It's summertime. His pockets are full.
People are always asking him to hold things, and he's like, look, I'm telling you, it's kind of bottomless. Yes. Okay. So yes, I can hold anything in there, but I don't know where it goes after I put it in there. I don't know. You know, I might be dropping this off in a prehistoric time. You know, I don't know if I'm damaging the environment in another, dimension. If this is littering, I don't know. Am I going to get in trouble by the interdimensional, litter police? That would be kind of funny. someone's like, just go ahead, just put the gum wrapper in there. Come on, Sal, put the gum wrapper in there. Come on, what's the problem? It's a portal. Who cares where it goes? And you're like, I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about it. Come on, Sal, baby, come on. You're like, all right. And you're like, okay, that's miraculous. Like it just, and all of a sudden you get a knock on the door from like the interdimensional litter police. Like, did you throw this gum wrapper in, dimension 5X39? I don't think that was me. Oh my God. Pocket portal. And of course, the Orbs will make lots of guest appearances. Wouldn't that be cool to shoot a movie and then the Orbs are just like there? There they are. They're always on set.
Oh yeah.
There is a Netflix program. I swear they must have tapped into it. And there's actually 2 Netflix programs. What it's called, Julie and the Holograms, and the other one is called Altered Carbon. And they pick up the orb phenomena, and they actually display it in Altered Carbon. It's very blatant, and it's done very tastefully. And Altered Carbon is about how in the future people are uploaded into I forget the term they described bodies as, like not vessels or not sheaths, but there's a term that they apply because the science or the mastery of cloning is perfected.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mystery because it's about murder, and there's probably the love angle too, but I didn't really get into it so much. But when I stumbled upon it through a friend's housemate, yeah, go ahead.
Huh? What?
I'm listening. Oh, I thought you said dude. I thought maybe you had something to say.
No. Oh, no. Sometimes I say dude because that's my reaction to something that's phenomenal.
Okay. I know. You're punctuating it. Yes, I get it now. That happens here a lot. You get punctuation from the orbs and or well, I'm not going to go into great detail, but it's perfect timing. So thank you. So anyway, that Altered Carbon, I'm not plugging it. I just accidentally or serendipitously or coincidentally or synchronistically happened that, and Julie and the Holograms, they all reference orbs and lives and spirits or post non-corporeal activity.
Wow. That is cool. It's cool when you see these shows, kind of unapologetically talking about these subjects. And now, in terms of so Lorelle, you were talking earlier about, and I want you to tell this story about the silhouette. I mean, this is so amazing because we were talking about tentacles earlier. There is a vast amount of different paranormal experiences between you two, and I want to keep dipping in here and finding out just the mechanics behind each of these things. So if you can recall the story again of when you saw your grandpa's silhouette in the light at night.
Oh wow. Yeah, it was just, waking up out of a dead sleep because Spanky was just going off. He was alerting me that there was something there that's not usually there. When I woke up and, I'm watching the expression on his face as he's looking over the back of the couch, wide-eyed, pupils dilated, and barking. And I turn around and I look and I'm like, wow, what? Rubbing my eyes. Is there something in my eye? And rubbing my eyes and looking, and it's still there. And I'm looking and I'm making out the form and the shape. And I'm like, this is reminiscent of my grandfather. And I'll give you.
Said he was leaning on the counter?
Yeah, he was leaning with it'd be his right elbow, his hip out, because he's not like sideways. He's like 3/4. So his hips kind of leaning out, like that silhouette of somebody leaning on the counter, like half looking at the goldfish, half observing other things possibly, but looking down, like the head was looking down into the goldfish. And it brings me to a few nights after that happened. I was sound asleep here, and I wake up and my mouth was like so dry. It was the driest it's like I could have spit cotton balls in the midair, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, I gotta get a drink of water. This is like 911. I got paper mouth or something,
Yeah, or
And
like really thirsty. You're like, I
right,
need to drink that water now.
yeah, so I get up, and I used to have a water cooler out in the kitchen, and I get up and go out there, and wait a minute, my goldfish is not in the bowl.
What?
It's gone. And I'm like,
Whoa.
it's like I woke up, immediately got up. I have to get water now,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And I'm looking at the fishbowl, and I look over at my parrot at the time, Ruby. I'm looking, no, he couldn't have got the fish because he's in his, no, even though I always left his cage door open so he could come and go to the top of his play area and go back into his cage. He was in his cage. Did you do something, Ruby? No, it wasn't Ruby. Where's the goldfish? And I'm starting to look down at my feet. And mind you, I haven't gotten any water yet. And I'm looking at my feet, making sure I didn't accidentally step on a goldfish that jumped out of the bowl. And I'm like, where is this fish? And so right next to the counter was the garbage. Look in the garbage. There's my goldfish.
Oh.
He's still alive. And I
Oh.
just changed the garbage. So it was like a fresh bag.
Oh God.
And his tail's like sticking up sideways, shaking. And I'm like grabbing him like, buddy. And I plopped him back in the fish bowl, and he starts swimming. And I was like, there is a fine example, Kurt, of spirit waking you up.
Yes.
So
yes.
Spirit was out there checking out the goldfish or not.
Oh my gosh.
It woke me up with the worst case of dry mouth that I've ever had, ever, that I could ever receive. You got to get up now. Or it was the fish conveying to me, I need water now.
I was just thinking of that. That just popped into my brain. Yeah, yeah.
And I ran out there, finally finding him, grabbed him by his tail, and plopped him back in the bowl, and he swam like nothing ever happened.
Whoa.
And then I was like, oh my gosh. So it took a while to process that in the middle of the night. I was like, wow, what just happened here? As I got my water. And yeah, that was a weird one. So that was either the fish, I would say probably the fish waking me up.
Wow.
Somehow.
Now how many have you had more of those kind of paranormal experiences?
Oh wow. Yeah,
where you've seen beings or even extraterrestrials?
Yeah, I just the orbs are a constant. Like they're like you could see them moving, moving fabric, stuff like that. If you've got a shirt hanging up or something on a coat, stuff like that. Or just sitting here, I like to sit in my bed a lot to read or do computer work or whatever, and seeing the comforter move.
Conversations.
Or the conversations, the downloads. Oh yeah. My grandfather, getting into, I'm getting out of work. I used to work at a car dealership. And I don't do that anymore. I don't advise it to anybody that wants to keep their sanity, but did that for 8 years.
Oh,
and getting into my car one day after work on a Saturday, I want to say, and my mind is in all different directions. I'm getting ready to drive a vehicle. All of a sudden I hear in my ear this whistle right in my right ear. It's a lot. It's like, and there's nobody there,
Whoa.
And it was my grandfather. Pay attention. Booming in my ear. Whistling. He used to do that whistle, where you could either put that really loud, put your fingers in your mouth and or
Yeah.
without. Um, Voices like that, yeah, things of that nature I hear.
Wow.
And I talk to him all the time. He talks to me, and I have to give a backstory on this because things have come to light in the recent years, months. But so I was raised by my dad's parents from an infant, pretty much.
Hmm.
Um, and they were like my parents. They were the acting parents. So when I was really little, now my grandfather's a card. He's just hilarious. And because I was so little, I gave my grandparents their names, and those names stuck with them through their whole lives. And his name was Gumpy
I love it.
because I couldn't say Grumpy, you know?
Uh-huh.
So his name was always Gumpy and it stuck.
I love it.
Well, as time went on, of course, he was born in what, 1923, and he got sick and with pancreatic cancer, and he suffered for a little bit with it. But I got the call he was passing. He was, and I was like, and he was like my favorite human being. He was my favorite because he was just so hilarious. Um, Very interactive personality, and he was very talkative, loved people. And so I remember leaving my house and getting to, it was like a half-hour drive, and getting that call from my dad saying he's not doing good. We don't know what's going to happen. Getting there and actually be able to see him sitting up in the bed and being normal. I was there maybe 5, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Um, and the machines are going nuts. Um, and the nurse says, "Okay, everybody who's here, you better come close because this is it." And he went from being normal 1 minute to his heart failing in the next. And I
Mm.
just remember everybody gathering, like, all around the bed, my grandmother, my father, my uncle. Um, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And I just swung around to the side of the bed, grabbed his hand, and realized he's going right now. He's going. And looking around in this particular shot in time, if you were just to take a still shot, and realizing and all this stuff coming in at you, I'm looking around, and my family, they're there, but they're suffering in their own grief at this moment, I guess you could say. And I'm looking at my grandfather, and he's just scared. The man is dying. He's leaving his physical body at this point in time. I have a
Mm.
hold of his hand, and I kneel over the bed, and I'm like inches from his face, and I watched his eyes were big. He was scared, and I said, "It's okay, Gumpy. You're gonna be fine. Let go. Just let go. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna see. You just wait. You're gonna be fine. Just let go." And I'm stroking his hand, and he passed. I watched his eyes go out of focus and dilate, and he was gone. And in his last words, he had last words, and he said, "Thank you." He could barely push those words out, but he said, "Thank you," in his mind.
Wow.
And I look around, and it was just surreal. It was like I look around at my family, and they weren't, like, I was like present with him. I was right there with him, looking into his eyes, inches from his face, kneeled right over him, had a hold of his hand. "Don't be scared. It's going to be fine. You just let go, let go, let go. You're going to be fine. You watch, you wait, you see. You're going to be fine." And I look back, and just everybody was sobbing. Their heads were down. And I'm like, "You guys, hey." And I was calm. I was like, I was in a state of relief at that point. Like, "Oh my God, like, this is, wow, I'm relieved because he's not suffering anymore." Um, and I said, "Hey, you guys, did you hear what Gumpy said? Did you hear his last words?" And everybody was like, they kind of came to out of their stupor of sobbing. And He said, thank you. Gumpy said, thank you. Those were his last words. And I just sat back in the chair that was next to the bed. I dropped his hand, sat back in the chair, and was just like relieved and calm as a cucumber. And I look over at my uncle across the bed. He's just still, he's poor guy. Beside him, just sobbing and, snot rolling out everywhere and just sobbing. He was a mess. And I started laughing hysterically. And it was like something I wouldn't do. Okay. And even as it was happening, I was in my mind going, I cannot believe I am laughing at my uncle who's very hurt that he just lost his father.
Mm.
And I realized what had happened at that point and what still happens every day around the clock from the day that event occurred. Was when my grandfather left his physical body, he was there and he literally entered me for a few seconds. And he was laughing because he realized that he didn't die, that there's no such thing as death.
Wow. That's incredible.
And at the time, I was really young. I was in my early 20s, and I had no idea that I was literally channeling the man. And I had to leave the room because I was just laughing at my uncle, or so I thought I was laughing, but it wasn't. It was like I was witnessing it from a different perspective when it happened.
Whoa.
So I left the room, just pacing outside, smoking cigarette after cigarette, going, what just happened in there? I'm laughing. Why am I laughing? And then I figured out what had happened, because every day I hear him. He's there. When I'm driving a car, he's like, one day I heard a phrase, I'm on my way somewhere, and he's like, get your head out of the clouds. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's great.
Get your head out of the clouds. And that was something that he used to say. And I totally forgot that phrase that he used to say when you weren't paying attention. Get your head out of the clouds. Are you listening to me? Things of that nature. I hear him all the time and I talk back and forth. And that's one of the orbs that is a constant with me.
Wow.
And the orbs have their own signature. If you watch their size and their flight and their brightness, and Sal and I kind of figured that out a little bit in some of the videos. He's the bigger orb. He's like really big and kind of slower moving. I mean, he can really fly around, but he's slower moving, but he's always present, always around, obviously. And the dog Spanky, he's the one that does like the little beelines, and he arcs a lot, and he's real zoomy, and he's almost like a little LED light zooming around that's just all over the place at once. But
and especially when you got little furry child there who is seeing the very same thing that you're seeing, those are those things that you can't, you're like, oh, okay, here's another reassurance. And especially, I mean, that must have been exciting for you to be able to share your orbs, like, hey, check it out. And for Sal to be there and go, oh my gosh, this is so cool to see. And then for you to see the orbs that Sal is acquainted with, and you're going, this is amazing. Now, have you sensed, when you're over at each other's houses, do you sense a familiarity with the other orbs that you see in front of you?
oh yeah, that they're definitely communicating. Yeah, there's a sense of it's always it's a feeling of great love and just appreciation and gratitude that these little balls of light emit. And when they're around, them letting you know that they're around. Sometimes you'll feel that gratitude come through too. and appreciation. Um, are you over?
Yeah, we're
But yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, coming together like that, we see even more in one area than I would normally see on my own, or he
Uh-huh.
would normally see on his own. It's like they're multiplied. Um, there's more around. Yeah, definitely.
It's incredible. I was shooting I was shooting like a very low budget sci-fi film about these friends who go off camping, and then one of them disappears, and then they end up finding him like 2 days later, and he's like, "Ugh," he's like freaked out, and you end up finding out he was abducted, during the night. But what was interesting was the place where we were shooting this thing. Um, any of the photos that were taken on the set, there were orbs all over the place. It was so awesome to see, like, oh my God, all these orbs are here. And it was just so cool, especially since it went along with the fact, of the subject matter, which was extraterrestrials. And so it was just really, really cool to see those orbs. And as far as I know, well, I've seen orbs in pictures throughout the years. I have. It's so crazy because I just think that I never really, really realized that there was something to really look at and consider and really and think about it. I'm sure the two of you, if you look back through old photos, you'll probably see a lot of orbs in them, huh?
Oh, speaking of, yes, I was going through a bunch of old photos, and Sal and I was showing Sal, I'm showing to Sal like past features of my life, basically, and all the old, regular photographs, and I've got there's a picture in my old living room of my two Rottweilers, and they used to roughhouse. Astro and they used to roughhouse and play, and it was so fun to watch them play. And I guess that day snapping pictures of them playing, and in the air there were orbs like crazy.
Wow.
And this was too after my grandfather passed away in 97. So I imagine some of that was him, because there's you know what I mean? But there were orbs in that photo. And again, they're attracted to action. And your friend Steve said they're mongers. The spirit is a monger.
yeah.
They're attracted to energy, high energy and things of that nature. So the dogs in the photo playing and being excited and happy and in
Wow.
in their best attracted them in. So wherever you find action, happiness, excitement, you're going to see those orbs because they're mongers.
And I love it because it's such a symbolic representation of, as they say, like all that is or source. Like when you really get into touching the core of what that is, it's excitement, it's love, it's joyfulness, it's satisfaction, it's all those things that you're just like, wow, this is great. I'm on floating on a cloud. So
So
when
when
we
you're
feel
living,
those, huh?
yeah, when you're living in the moment,
Yeah,
because when they say when you're depressed or you're sad, you're in the past, right?
right,
When you're
right.
anxious, when you're anxious or afraid, you're living in the future. So think
Yes.
about it. When you're laughing, you're living in the moment.
Yeah.
When those dogs were playing and roughhousing and wrestling each other, they were living in their moment, and that's where you'll find the orbs when you're
I
living in the moment.
love that. It's so great because it's like the universe, it's like the unseen kind of making itself visible, going, yep, yep, yep. You know what? That's right. You're on to something.
Those are
I'm
Easter eggs.
curious. So, Sal, is there specific music that you play that you can find where you're like, okay, this is the groove and this is bringing about the orbs? Are there specific frequencies that you play?
That's funny you ask because while Laurel was giving a descriptor of what was going on, what has been going on in her ongoing dialogue with her grandfather, I was slipping into a zone, aka falling asleep. But I
Mm.
was like in between, and she caught me holding the cell phone. It was actually I was because I'm holding it up, and it started like slowly, like deflating like a balloon. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm here, I'm present.
Oh my God, I
Um,
love it. I love
yeah,
it.
it's great. Because I was really going into some other realm.
Well, and it
Like,
makes sense. It makes sense. It's like we're in the
um,
TP smoking the peyote. We're like, oh, we're communing with the Great Spirit.
Dude.
as far as frequencies go, uh, um, I don't think it matters if sometimes, and I don't mind, and it's really cool because I'll see on TikTok people say 432, 528, 916, and I'm like, I don't think there is a specific frequency as long as there is attached to that particular wavelength what she was saying earlier. If you're depressed, you're in the past. If you're in the future, you might be anxious. So being in the now, which, it's always like we're anticipating it and we capture that second or whatever that instantaneousness is. We latch onto it, but then it slips into the past. So we want to stay in that without grabbing at it or holding on to it so it doesn't go to the past. We kind of let it go and allow ourselves to flow into that state where you don't go, but you just are. And perhaps that it's not so much about a certain number or frequency as it is your intention that is set and allows for whatever frequency to occur, whatever note you wish to express, as long as there's that, part of you that's saying, yes, I'm allowing for this to be, and keep that joy or that intent of being in a joyful, loving, accepting, embracing. And I hate to go there, but I don't mind really. I go back to that one section in um, the movie Slaughterhouse-Five, where he's addressing this audience. Billy Pilgrim's going back and forth in time. He's slipping in
Oh
time.
yeah.
The
Mhm.
Tralfamadorians allowed him to do that. They gave him that grace of time travel. So he's always experiencing his death. He's always experiencing his birth. He's always experiencing every single point in time of his life. And he's addressing this audience. And then the next thing you know, that guy, what's his name? Lizardo comes and like blows him away with the gun. He's like, don't ever fuck with me. It was, I can't remember what exactly the words were, but he's saying hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye, always embracing, hello, goodbye, and then he gets killed.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
just like, wow, he was still in that joy moment of joy. and Lorelle just gives me this book with the title "Hello, Goodbye," selected poems
Oh
by
my, incredible.
Bob Dylan.
Bob Brill. Yeah, a good friend of mine. He's in his 80s. I think he's almost 90 now. He's got this excellent book of poetry, and it's called Hello, Goodbye, Selected Poems.
Oh my gosh.
Excellent writer. And as he was saying that, I mean, I've got books galore, but I just pulled this book out to show him when he was saying hello, goodbye, hello,
Oh my
goodbye.
God. I love that synchronicity. I love it. And I bet you I would not be surprised if we randomly opened up a page to that and it accurately described something that we were speaking about previously. I bet you there'd be a poem in there if you just went brrr and picked one.
Here we
I
go.
bet you it would completely relate to maybe something we've been talking about.
All right, here we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
3. Hello, goodbye. Page 41. That's all it says.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
41.
Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Dude.
Ladies and germs.
Ladies and germs, we got 3. Double colon. Hello, goodbye. That's what it opened up to, page 41.
Oh my gosh. It says hello, goodbye. I mean, this is incredible. It's like we just time traveled. We by that symbolic representation, we actually successfully did it. We have now clicked over to another parallel version of us in a preferable reality. I love it. I think we just found a portal. I think we just found a portal, folks.
Okay. Here,
I
here
mean, how
you go.
cool is that? The fact that he's talking about hello, goodbye, hello, and all of a sudden, bam, you pull off that book, and then bam, the page you just happen to open up to, there it is.
Page
And
41,
and
number
4 and
3.
what's interesting is 4 plus 1 is 5. And okay, so 32, 23, 41, 14, different variations of 5. That is, as Bashar says, 5 and 23 and 32, all the different versions of that, is a symbolic representation of synchronicity.
And
So
also get this. It says 3 double colon hello goodbye, and if you add the 41 and 3, you get the 8, which is the infinity.
I love infinity so much. I love 8s. I love every time I see 8, I think of infinity. I love the fact you pointed that out. Oh my God. Of course you did. Astounding. Of course.
And I'm going to
Oh,
read this. This opens up, if you flip the page, that the only thing on it says hello goodbye, and I flip the page over, there's a poem called Rent a Poet. And it reads, 10,000 voices are screaming to peel the dollars off your hide. Kiss nagging back pain goodbye, but hurry, this offer will expire soon. Join our crusade to make the world a better place, and we'll send you a handsome tote bag bearing our logo. Donate now. Shut out those voices and listen to a sweeter tune. Call Rent a Poet. Invite a real live poet into your home to reconnect you with the beauty of the world. Of course, my offer can be perceived as one of 10,000 voices, but hey, it's a quid pro quo world, and I've got to eat too. For a couple of bucks, I'll read you some poems. I can also mow your lawn before the dandelions launch their seeds, or rake your gorgeous leaves when they drop from the trees, and in the dark and frigid time of year, when the icicles hang from the snow-capped roof and the snot freezes as it drips from your nose, I'll shovel the snow off your driveway, but only if you listen to some poems by Bob Brill.
that's great. Oh, that is so good. It's like while you're reading that, I was imagining Sal's violin playing the soundtrack behind that. I just thought, wow, that would be great if that was an audiobook. He's playing the music behind you reading it. Now, Sal, you're
Yeah, it's cool.
This, now we're gonna have to go because this is gonna kick us off in probably the next 8 minutes. But I just want to say real quick. So, Sal, tell me about the Candlelight Strings and how people can get a hold of you to play for them. Actually, go ahead and tell them a little bit about the Candlelight Strings.
Oh, sure. Well, let me preface that with because since we're going to be signing off pretty soon, I just wanted to thank you again for inviting us on your podcast
Yeah.
because we were just
Thank you.
and actually not only for inviting us onto your podcast, but for inviting us into this realm you've co-created that has allowed synchronistically, coincidentally, serendipitously for us to all meet, greet, and somehow in the process of becoming complete, this whole wonderful romance of time, if I may quote, which is an unbroken spontaneity of bliss. This is a way of confirming and affirming that there is no accidents and there is no coincidence. But
Yes. Oh God, I love it. Oh my God, that's so true. Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, it's just been a real kick, to put it bluntly, um, a real kick in the ass, and at the same time, without going into too much, Candlelight Strings was founded by Betty Byers. Betty Byers was a child prodigy violinist starting at age 4, and comes from a family of her brother is at the time he ghosted for many of film in television and film. Billy Byers was her brother, and he went on because of his fame. She was inspired by his abilities, and with her own prodigious talent, she was able to forge her way being one of the very few females that paved the way for more females, and especially females of color, to become studio session players, actors, performers in the arts in the early 60s. She started, her first film was The Manchurian Candidate, strangely enough, with Frank Sinatra. So her career took her all the way to pretty much the Matrix series in the late 90s. And afterwards, she decided to retire, quote unquote, and move up to the Central Coast of California, where I met her in 2004. At that time, I was pretty heavily involved with the industry. And so our meetup was no accident. And when I found out her, basically her track record, her street cred was just unparalleled as far as I was concerned. And so she decided to take me under her wing and make her one of her quartet members. And so we played all sorts of wonderful events, from like one of my first nicest jobs ever was in Beverly Hills at the anniversary party of Marilyn and Alan Bergman, who was Hollywood's premier composer couple, like you name it, and they were involved with it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, not to drop names, but Barbara was there, and a number of notables, but I just remember Barbara Streisand for reals, because it was like she was 10 feet away, and her husband, who I thought was John Forsythe, but then I was immediately corrected and shut up and told to shut up and play the music, because I was just like so starstruck. As much as I thought that I was not, I couldn't help but just kind of start drooling.
Wow.
Anyway,
What would you say would be like some of your dream projects? Like, would you like to do soundtracks for movies, TV shows, video games?
yeah. Funnily enough, that you mentioned that, because one of my best friends in the business, Albert Fox, he's composing right now for television and film, and he occasionally, because we're more friends than anything, he will just kind of like casually say, "Hey, I'd like this kind of like a psycho type of ring, but not so much the ring, but like a long drawn out ring." And I'm like, "Sure, Albert, I'll be happy to." So I'll show up with my fiddle and just make some really squeaky sounds, kind of almost like cartoonish sounds, because where he works is for Mark Mothersbaugh's Mutata Musica.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I get to do funny sounds. I get to do things that I never thought I would do, because most of the time I'm reading a piece of sheet music and having to play as written. So there's not that much room for latitude, shall we say, insofar as creative expression goes. But when I'm with Albert, I get to kind of do what he wants me to do, but I get to interpret it or do it like as I kind of hear it in my mind's or eyes, ear, whatever.
My eyes, ear. That's right.
All in favor, say aye. All in favor, say ear. All ear? Sorry. Okay. But to make that long story longer, that's from playing the Kennedy Compound to playing with Mr. Fox and Ms. Byers. And now, the most important thing right now is that, if I may say, Lorelle, my project is including and having the Orbs.
I love it.
And because I'm not going to flaunt or tout, but we both have musical inclinations along these lines. So
this is great.
We're going to be incorporating voice. We're going to be incorporating guitar. We're going to be
I
incorporating.
can't wait. I cannot wait.
And of course, some violin. And yeah.
This is great. Oh my gosh. People could listen to this music as soundtracks, like when they do like Orb events, like, okay, we're all going to see Orbs today. Let's roll the soundtrack, or they hire you to show up to play it. Oh my God. Well, listen, this thing's going to cut me off, but I just want to say thank you so much for saying yes and wanting to be on the show and sharing your dynamic stories. And this has just been a blast. And thank you so much for sharing so much of this. And can I put in the description your TikTok channels in case people want to click on them and follow you?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Kurt, for having us on. I'm very appreciative of this time that we have.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome. And so I'll see you too on. I'll be uploading this. I'll be uploading this for you, and then I'll let you know.
Oh, awesome!
Fantastic.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Take care. I'll talk to you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Nick Tierce, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
It's a face palm, a balm of calm, like a napalm bomb. It's a face palm, crumbly malm of loamy alms. And how soon do you think you to do it again? It's a face palm, here it come alms, playing Brahms on prom. And how soon do you think you to do it again? Have the Holmes from Guam to the cable comes. Are the Grom Rom diatoms glom in their moms? It's a face palm, the book of psalms and rhymes and rhymes. And how soon do you think you'll do it again?
How you doing? This here's Tony Clifton. Nothing could be finer than to be in Carolina in the morning. How you doing there, Wise Finger Lab? I've been in Las Vegas. I've been hanging out with the chickies. And I don't like what Zamuta's been doing. He's been playing me, and I don't look like Zamuta. I'm real tall, Zamuta's a short guy, very short. And, Kaufman was more how tall I am. But, yeah, that Kaufman, man, he was... Yeah, what a poser, So anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to y'all later.